We interrupt this program to bring you an important Wayfair message. Wayfair's got style tips for every home. This is Styles McKenzie helping you make those rooms sing. Today's style tip. When it comes to making a statement, treat bold patterns like neutrals. Go wild, like an untamed animal print area rug under a rustic farmhouse table from Wayfair.com. Arr, fierce. This has been your Wayfair style tip to keep those interiors superior.
Wayfair, every style, every home.
Are you fed up with the corporate bullshit holding you back? Welcome to Invest in Yourself, the digital entrepreneur podcast, the ultimate launchpad for entrepreneurs ready to seize control and unleash their creative genius. Hosted by Phil Better, the Podcast Mogul. Each week, he's breaking the chains of conventional work with bold strategies, raw insights, and inspiring success stories from the digital entrepreneurs who took the risk and invested in themselves. This is your call to arms. Invest in yourself, break free from someone else's rules, and build the empire you deserve. Now let's dive headfirst into today's explosive episode.
Welcome back to another exciting episode of Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur Podcast. I am your host, Phil Better, the Podcast Mogul, and today we are diving into a transformational conversation you won't want to miss. Imagine being stuck in your business, feeling unfulfilled, despite your drive and creativity. Now imagine having the tools to break through mental blocks, align with your true self, and start magnetically attracting the clients, money, and opportunities you've always been dreaming of. Well, that's exactly what our guest today specializes in. She is a visionary coach who's revolutionizing the way women entrepreneurs, compassionate coaches, and creatives take charge of their lives and business. With her signature blend of deep emotional work and creative brand strategy, she's helping motivate individuals to unlock their full potential and turn stuck into unstoppable. Ladies and gentlemen, get ready to be inspired by the incredible KC Cohn. KC, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Phil. I really appreciate it. I am so excited to dive into some stories here. One in particular was the one that changed the trajectory of my whole life. When I stood outside the log home I was living in and looked up to the sky for one last ditch effort to try to keep my side business going. And I had an epiphany. This vision of portrait photography came into light, and it just changed my whole trajectory. But I'll tell you about that later. I'm just excited to insert it.
I love when my guest teases these amazing stories that they're going to share, because it means I get to jump right into it, and I'm just like a child on Christmas. So we're going to do what I always do, and the question I always ask, Casey, why did you start to become an entrepreneur? What made you decide to become throw off the shackles of the 9-to-5 to join us here in the Wild West of entrepreneurship?
So I'm actually a fourth generation entrepreneur, so it's just in my blood. But my background was in design and architecture. So I'll start where my last real 9-to-5 job, I was working for a lighting agency. And I had the idea I wanted to better myself in some way. And I was interested in color. And so I had started this side business while I was working in my 9-to-5. And I became a color consultant so that I could just become a better architect, a better interior designer, better in that way. And so I started this color consulting business on the side, helping people choose colors for their home and space and whatnot. And this was in Washington, D.C. at the time. And I had a business model that I started in a paint store there, where people would come in and get free help just walking in to choose colors. And then I would be able to help them in their home so I could get clients that way. And the business just took off. And it didn't seem like I was really going to be able to get anywhere with the 9-to-5 business that I was with. And so I started thinking, if I could just put more hours than, like 10 hours a week into this side business, because it's doing so well, then maybe I could actually, meet the income that I make in my 9 to 5. So I decided to jump ship on that. And even a couple years probably prior to what my financial advisor would have liked, we had a certain number we were trying to target before I actually did that thing. But there was a little pressure coming from the 9 to 5 job. So I thought, you know what, let's just do it. I've done really well to put all my money away, and we'll just use that. I can do this, right? So I dropped everything, got a really nice high-rise apartment in DC overlooking the Capitol. It was beautiful. It was a wonderful time and experience. And I got there and got settled in and found out that there was someone else in the store that was unofficially doing the same thing that I was. And the manager had come to me and said, hey, we just want to let you know, this person that works for us, because I had my own business, she was unofficially doing the same thing. And we think there's enough clients to go around. At first, I'm kind of side-eyeing the situation. And I thought, look, we're in a big city here. Of course, there's enough people to go around. We can do this and we can make work. And I just dropped some big bucks on a nice apartment. So we're going to make it work. So I took up more days at the paint store, but I wasn't getting more clients. In fact, I was getting less. So, and this was on the Hill. This was on Pennsylvania Avenue, in a beloved hardware store there. But anyway, I panicked for a minute. I was resentful for a minute. And I thought, no, we're not going to let this, take me down. And I decided to go out to the suburbs and find a paint store out there. And so just to expand, my audience. And so I went in there and took that model there, and I was still running the one in DC. And things were going really well. Fast forward a couple years, and I swear I woke up one day and I had this business model inside 6 paint stores. I had 6 color consultants who I had trained to do what I was doing in the stores and in home. And I had hit 6 figures. Like, I didn't even realize where I was because things had picked up and were moving so quickly. And there was just such high demand. Really was a dream situation. Until it wasn't. Managing people. Have you had the opportunity to manage others?
I have, but not under my business. Like, I was a supervisor for when I was in the corporate world. So I did manage people, but I didn't have the pressure that, if they don't perform, I lose money. It's this big corporation that loses money. So that's fine. But I can understand the stress when it's your business, because it is stressful.
Sure.
Just regularly managing people's life and personalities when it comes to
it wasn't something that I had really had much experience with. So, if they sometimes they might get sick or not call in, and then the paint store is left without someone and they didn't notify me. And so then it makes me look really bad. Or the paint stores are really concerned about how my, color consultants are dressing. Are they meeting a certain dress code? Or if we left something out on the table there that they didn't like, there was just all these things coming at me. In addition to making sure that the business ran well. So I decided to kind of get away and take a little weekend trip away with a friend, and went to the mountains. And the drive there was just incredible because, you're going from the city and you're going down a highway where there's green rolling hills on either side of you, and in front of you, you almost look like you're going to just start driving over them. It's the most beautiful route. on the way to like the Shenandoah Mountains, if you're familiar with that area in Virginia. But it was so beautiful. I felt like, Julie Andrews is just going to come over the mountains singing "The Hills Are Alive" or something.
I can picture it now. A whole film crew, the Julie Andrews bit, and you're just like, wait, did I go back in time?
Yeah. No, I mean, it really exported me. It was, I instantly just decompressed. Sometimes you don't know how much different life is until you walk through something completely different. You force yourself or you just happen to be there. So this was one of those moments that I did not realize what it was like being in the city and how stressful it really was, because you pick up on the energy and the highways and the roads there. You can just feel like everyone's trying to get their kids to soccer, or there's a lot of attorneys there. Everybody's really working and it's highly charged. They're just zooming everywhere to try to get stuff done, including myself. But it was so peaceful just getting away to the mountains. And that made me realize I want more of this. I want more of the peace. So I was in a situation where I just packed up everything, and I didn't quite burn my color consulting business down, but I left it to fend for itself. I thought, if people want me to come back and to consult for them, I will. And that has worked ever since. I have had repeat clients where I could go back and help them. But my goal do next, which was actually to continue my schooling and get my master's in my field somehow. And I chose construction management. And I really was pushing myself to do that then, because I wanted to get that done before my parents started aging more, where I might want to pick up and, move and be with them to help them out temporarily. So I started down that road and got into my schooling when I actually got a call that my mom had collapsed. And so I really, didn't get through my schooling. It was online schooling that I was doing in construction management. And I wasn't able to get to her to be with her before she passed away. I was in Virginia and she was in Colorado. And I wasn't sure that, I could really get there before she passed, but she did. And the really, it was really sad. We were very close. And she was almost 81, so it's to be expected. But the hard part for me was that she had just moved into a living facility, Phil. She had her eye on this place for 10 years. And we didn't think it was going to happen for even another year, but it did. She got right in. And she only had the chance to be there for 10 days before she passed. Oh. And the hard thing about it was, it was her dream to be there. Her best friend had already been living there for almost a decade, was like known as the mayor of the whole facility, Oh. And it was her best friend of 50 years. She just so happened to get a room like in a, 200 room facility right next door to her. All these things were lining up. It wasn't just her dream. It was that she could be with her best friend and have this last chapter in her life and look forward to all of the, all the activities and things I could do there. So it was a mixture of just feeling so distraught, so sad, but just also just pissed off that it isn't fair that she didn't get to live out, her dream. Yeah, we're glad she made it there, but I was really upset. I don't know. Do you have parents in that situation too, or have you gone through anything wrong?
I don't have parents yet in that situation. However, it's we're within a decade of them getting to the 80s and possibly, moving into a house or a retirement place, and I don't know how I would react. Like your mom hit her goal of, she got into, like you said, this 200 place facility where it's like community with her best friend who's the mayor. She's like right next door, like perfect. And then just 10 days of this perfect life of living her dream, and then losing. I don't want to even think about losing my parents. So I can only like fathom the pain that you went through and the turmoil you went through. Not only like you're like, I'm leaving your business that you're like, okay, I'm not shutting down, but like, stepping away from, so you're healing from that. And then all of a sudden you get that news. My God, I don't know how I would react.
Yeah. I mean, you never really do. These are things that, of course, we can't predict, but we know are coming. So, I walked on from that. And I also told myself that I am going to be very grateful for all the time that I had with her. I am not going to get lost in mourning and things that could have happened. I just didn't want to live my life like that. I wanted to be really grateful and have wonderful thoughts about her. But of course, grieving is natural. So it's been a couple of weeks watching Netflix for a while over Christmas time, but and that's okay. So I did finish my degree, so I was, grateful I could stay focused and did that. And I had learned later in life, I kind of remembered that my mom said she wanted to be an interior designer. This was only something I learned later in life, but she never, went for that career. She decided to have a family, and I'm so grateful for that too. That
I am too, because we're having this conversation. So hats off to Mom for maybe not getting the dream of an interior designer, but allowing us to have this conversation.
Right, thank you. That's awesome. We'll send that off to her. So, I thought, she didn't get to have her dream career in life, and she only got to live the other dream, for 10 days. And I thought, gosh, if she had only had someone like myself. So I'm a visionary coach, and I help women entrepreneurs, see their vision and make it a reality. And if she had had someone like me early on to help her, I mean, I don't know what her challenges were then, but if they were to have a family and a career, maybe that could have helped her. But I was also trying different business ideas that I could launch, just because I quickly started realizing that although I finished getting my master's in construction management, the pay for that was going to be the same of what I did in my, color consulting business. And I just thought, look, it'll take me 80 hours, in a construction job to get where I want to go. And I'd rather just have the freedom of my own schedule, my own time, and what I want to do. So I started coaching people. I mean, I have a background in psychology. I was a trainer as a crisis center counselor way back when I was getting my degree in psychology. So I started coaching women entrepreneurs in all these different areas, some intuitive ones. I did some intuitive color readings. I did some creative card readings for people, and it was getting amazing results. But I just wasn't very excited about doing it. And that's the thing. Whatever I was going to do next, I wanted to be really fulfilled with it. I didn't want to be stuck at a 9-to-5 I didn't like. I didn't want to go into a career that I didn't like anymore. Those were the requirements. And that is, here's how it worked. I was consulting women entrepreneurs to be, live their dreams, met with, hey, my mom did not, meet her dreams the way she wanted to, and I don't want any other woman to go through that. I want them to be able to get their brilliant ideas out there and to change the world or give them more freedom or be able to juggle both life and business together. So those two met. And that is just prior to the example that I was giving in the beginning of what happened next when I was on the porch and had that epiphany come through.
Oh, so your whole world was created because you had the 9 to 5, you had your 9 to 5, you had your freedom, you come from a long line of entrepreneurs, so you understand the struggles that entrepreneurs have, but you also understand how much freedom it has, which I'm jealous because I only discovered the freedom in 2020, a few years late, if you will.
All right. Better late than never.
It's true. I'm very, very happy. I look at 2020 as a very positive aspect of my life, even though it was very negative in a lot of other people's lives.
I love it.
So you're doing all this. You saw that your mother left. Maybe life not unfulfilled because she did have an amazing family and she did, have to see the joy that the family brought. But her personal dreams, of being a interior designer was left unfulfilled, sparking you to just say, hey, I want to help these women so that they can live their ideal life. And now you're sitting outside on a log cabin, which I'm very jealous of, looking up into the stars. Because I love standing outside at night when there's no light pollution, just looking up at the stars and seeing the beauty that there's there. So that's the biggest, that's a goal I have, just having a log cabin out in the wilderness.
Nice. Yeah.
What was the epiphany that happened? What was it that sparked you to kind of maybe change directions?
Yeah, so I was living there and doing some coaching, but I wasn't really getting the revenue or the marketing piece down. It just felt like a whole different can of worms than my color consulting business. And I was getting stressed. And I remember sitting on my couch thinking, I just feel like a train sitting on this rusted track going nowhere. And it reminded me of my mom because I was thinking, I don't want to have to rely on someone else for my income. Am I really going to have to go back and work somewhere? Maybe, even just a side job at Starbucks or something. And I'm just backpedaling like I don't want to go. And, I had hired a lot of mentors to figure out my passion and purpose. And I just thought, maybe there's one more thing that I really love out there that I just haven't tested yet. Just simply because I don't want to go back to a 9 to 5, So I walked out on the porch. I'm like, all right. It was actually during the day because I remember distinctly going out there and looking up to the sky. I'm like, all right, before I burn this business down because I'm not making it. What else is out there for me that I absolutely love that I just haven't uncovered yet? Like, come on. I feel like I'm rolling the dice here. And before I could even finish the sentence, this often happens for me. I'm looking up at the sky and it was so blue that day and clear, right? And peaceful, just out in the wilderness. Like, what more than anything else do I want in this world? And before I could even finish, this vision of portrait photography came into place. I mean, literally, it's as if there was this huge painting with this big, wide, 1960s gilded frame around it or something with a brother and a sister, siblings at a young age sitting in there. And I'm like, what is this portrait photography thing? What's going on? Like, I'm not going to be a photographer. I mean, my dad actually, growing up, we had a dark room in our basement and he, was a hobbyist. So I understood photography and I'd had some classes, but I'm like, I don't think that I'm going to go into photography, especially with the digital world right now. All I was hearing was photographers are having the worst, the hardest time trying to make a living. But I thought, yeah, I do. I love portrait photography. I loved seeing it. I feel like a picture really paints 1,000 words. I mean, call it the creative in me, but I love it. And I love personal branding photo shoots. I love the character behind them. So I thought, all right, universe, we're going to take this and run with it. Like, I put it under my arm. I'm like, I'm determined to make this work somehow. So I gave it some thought over the next few days. And I was thinking about how when I go online and I'm looking, scrolling through social media, and it's really easy for me to see when like one of the women entrepreneurs that, I might be helping or that I see out there in the industry, whatever they're putting out there doesn't seem to match them. It's like I can feel it in my body. I can just intuitively feel it. Or if they're posting a picture, they're doing a live or something, I can sense when something isn't aligning and it's not helping them, and that maybe they're struggling with it. And I just thought, I want to reach through this screen and just be like, I can help you with this. I felt like I have I understand human behavior really well, and I just intuitively know, how to create a project or how to guide it, creatively to get them, in a place where what they're putting out there matches, who they are and what their message is. So what I did was I took that idea and this thing that I have about me and put those together, and I came up with what I call the therapeutic photo shoot method. Ooh.
You got me picked up.
So what that is something that I developed. I'm already working with people to go deep with them and uncover their self-doubt and blocks. And so I know them on this very deep level. And I also take a creative side to help them like visually be able to see themselves. And we go into Pinterest, and if you're familiar with like vision boards, we do some things kind of like that, but it's with their life and their business so they can visually see what's going on. So what I did was plunked down this therapeutic photo shoot method by taking what I know of them very deeply and what I know visually of them. And I had them go into Pinterest to look up some like photo shoot images that matched all of this that we've been working with. And I told them, okay, now you're going to go out and you're going to have a photo shoot that's based on everything we know about you and everything we see in these visuals. But we're going to gear it, specifically toward you. We're going to gear it toward overcoming your fears and standing in your power. And that way they could see themselves, not just from the inside out, but from the outside in. Yeah. So, and the really cool thing that happened from that is they started taking selfies of themselves and used that as their photo shoot. One person just went into Canva and took existing pictures that she already had and did these really incredible things with them and put these empowering words under them. And it just gave me chills when I saw these things, because it was making them feel really empowered that they could see themselves from the outside. Because when do we ever really get the chance to do that? So that gave them so much confidence that they were able to manifest these things in their life because they just became so magnetic. They became themselves. They were shedding, outer layers of themselves, and they started getting more clients. I had one person who was a writer. She helped people to write also, and she had a side job as a hostess in a restaurant. And once we started working together, suddenly people started tipping her in a non-tipping position out of nowhere. She'd get on the calls and she's pulling envelopes out of her bag. She's like, "Oh, here's one more. Look, somebody else gave me money."
Wow.
So, yeah, really cool. So it was not just that I'm helping them manifest more clients, more money, more, opportunities, but they're feeling better. I I call it the energy of euphoria. I mean, they really get up into this incredible feeling so that their lives are brought more joy. And guess what? They're more fulfilled with their business that they're in. The exact same thing that I was looking for. And now I was able to bring that to them. And today, Phil, still, even years later, they come back to me every few months and they tell me, guess what? I'm doing this thing and this thing. And you can just feel the energy is lit up from within. They had gone from feeling stuck and like, just the rainiest of stormy days and, having struggles in their relationships because they're not happy and their health was declining, to all the way, immediately and years later, still maintaining that. So that's my story. Yep. And I'm sticking to it.
It's a great story and you should stick to it because it has the highs, it has the lows. It's a blockbuster in the making, KC, for sure.
Netflix, pick it up.
Oh, for sure. Netflix or Amazon. They're going to hear this and they're going to be like, we need to get KC on the phone. Let's get this story done.
Do it.
I'm curious, with everything you've done, because you've been able to help a whole bunch of women reinvest in themselves to become a better version with, going through Pinterest, seeing these boards, creating that vision board, then being able to step out and get that photography session so that they can see what other people see, how the people see them as what they should be, this successful entrepreneur or successful business owner, or just a success, period, what do you do to keep yourself in that successful mode? What investments do you do, either daily, monthly, weekly, yearly, to become the best version of yourself?
Thank you. It's a really good question. Aside from trainings that I do, last week I fell into 4 all in one week. I was like, oh my gosh. But I just can't resist because I have so many things I want to do. But my biggest thing is that I'm always staying in breakthrough. I'm always expanding my capacity to see how far I can stretch what I can do, because I feel like our thoughts are just a muscle. And the problem is that we get stuck in all of these old thoughts and beliefs that we've had. And I've learned that if we can just shift our thoughts to something that is more expansive, that is what really helps me, just to keep doing that and exercise that muscle. And the things that you think are really hard right now, once you start walking through those and you're exercising that muscle, those become easier and then it just falls away. And you start having these epiphanies and breakthroughs, and life, it just becomes so exciting, and the momentum just keeps moving, and you just keep rolling. I've learned to shift and pivot quickly. It's not that I don't, feel all the feels when they come on. I do, but I just love that challenge, and it helps with my clients too, understanding them.
Yeah. And you're able to go through these shifts and these pivots and the lows because you've already been through lower lows and higher highs. So you understand. Plus you get to see it with your clients. I want to jump into the future because I like seeing the future of my guests. Obviously, it gives me a reason to call them back in 10 years. Hey, come back on the show. Did you reach your goal? Planting that seed. Hopefully, we don't wait 10 years to have you back, KC, because that would be a disservice to both myself and to the audience. But I would love to know, where do you see yourself in the next 10 years? Do you see yourself still doing exactly what you're doing, maybe up a level, or do you see yourself completely in this new world that you never thought possible?
I do see myself in a world that I never thought possible. I mean, that's what I do. I reach for really big things and big ideas. So expect me to be in a place where I'm like, this is incredible. And, I'm right now, I'm in a position where I'm launching and rolling out some things with my business. My business name is called House of Vision, and I've attached the name Virtual Retreats to it because that's what it feels like when people are working with me. And that's what I love to feel. I love helping people heal themselves, kind of like rehab, only it's not drugs and alcohol. It's the mind. And even though right now I'm working one-to-one, I have a community of, other women, sisterhood to help, support one another. So right now, for example, the virtual retreat that I provide is called Slumber Party because it's more of an entry level for these women entrepreneurs to come in because they feel so, in these paralyzed places, and it's a place that starts to feel more like a circus by the time they get out, and they're like a magnet just drawing in what they desire in life and business. But then what I want to roll out with after that is to have what I call the checkered anchor. So after they're done with a 6-month container of all this excitement, now they get to navigate, all these ups and downs, all these ebbs and flows. So it's like instead of the yellow brick road, it's like follow the checkered brick road because I love this whole Alice in Wonderland thing. Since that's what I feel like I'm in.
You have that vibe. I can get that vibe. Let's Dorothy down a simple path and more. Hey, we're gonna just sip this potion and see what happens.
That's great. Thank you. I might steal that from you. Yeah, and so it's checkered because of the road and the highs and lows, but it's an anchor because I want to help them anchor in, build a strong foundation, feel confident, and do like what I'm doing, be able to expand their capacity. And then beyond that, I want to roll out a final stage that I'm calling the Escape Retreat, where they really get to expand their capacity. And they've got higher levels of income coming in, maybe in the $1 million range. And I'm helping them to navigate how to be a better leader, how to run a better business, in fewer hours and still maintain, those high levels. So in 10 years, I want to have run the gamut of that and helping groups of women, really put themselves out there and really put themselves out there powerfully. And, that I can look back at the end of the day, even in 10 years, and be able to impart my wisdom or give that advice. I love teaching what I know and all the nuances and help them get there. It's like bigger goals faster, and feel happy about it.
I love that. I love that for you. And I can for sure see you doing that, crushing that goals. Maybe not having another log cabin epiphany to reach it. However, I do believe you're going to have another crazy epiphany to help you get to the next level and hit that exit, that come together with that exit idea, because you just have that energy. You attract. Yeah. You can feel the attraction that you have for not only your passion for your business, but also to see your clients and the women that you support get to the level that they can be successful. Because I have a feeling that you see your mom in every single one of these people, and you want them to hit that level. That's the love and compassion I can see you bring to your clients and your job, and I think that's wonderful. We are unfortunately coming to the end of the episode, which I hate because I'm having a great time learning about you, Casey. So you're definitely coming back. Awesome. Your energy is awesome, and I love it, and I want to share more of it. But we're going to go back to your 10-year-old self here. So we went to the future. We know what you're going to do in the future, but we're going to go backwards. And I want you to share with the audience a piece of advice you would love to be able to hand back to that 10-year-old KC who was looking up at the stars late at night and wondering what she was going to do with her life. What is that advice?
Yeah, I would say whatever you're dreaming of right now, stick with that. Hold on to that. Those are the seeds that you're planting for the future. I mean, things are going to change massively, but always remember that 10-year-old self. I feel like that's the age where there's still the innocence and there's still the belief before there's too much, corruption that you can't do this and you can't do that. And that's the exact age that I was out peddling stationery to my neighbors and, doing all these entrepreneurial things. And it's really where, my life started in my friends after that with Yes, You Can. So listen to that 10-year-old, like she or he really knows what's going on. And always go back to that person.
I love it. That's some great advice for both 10-year-olds and us 40, 50, 60-year-old entrepreneurs. To remember that child inside of us and the love and the joy that we have. KC, I'm going to jump off the stage here. I want you to tell my audience where they can connect with you. If there's any women who are looking to get more empowered for their vision of the future or of their business, how they can become part of your community. So the floor is yours.
Thank you. Right now, they can reach out. They can find me on LinkedIn. My name is spelled with the letter K, the letter C, the last name is Cohn. And I'm also on Facebook, and most of the socials, you can find me there or with House of Vision. I also have a special gift for your listeners. I want to leave them with a gift. It's a exercise that I developed called the Why You method. And it's really good for helping entrepreneurs stand out amidst a crowded industry where they feel like, how am I ever going to make it because it's so crowded? And it takes you through exercises in a very unexpected way and helps you to have more confidence and pluck out really unique things about yourself that'll make you stand out and make you different. So you can DM me at any of those places there, or I'll leave a link with you, Phil. And you can, if there's somewhere that you can post it, I'll leave a link there where they can get that.
Oops. Wrong button. KC, of course, I'm going to be more than happy to share that with my audience. They need it. So I want to thank you very much for being on the podcast. It was a pleasure having you, learning about your epiphany. You left a great hook point at the beginning. I don't even have to do work anymore to figure out, because that just hook point you with your intro was amazing. So thank you so much for being here.
You're welcome. Thank you, Phil.
Oh, it was a pleasure having you, KC, and I'm looking forward to having you in the future. To my audience, of course, to get that free gift from KC, if you just look down on your phone in the show notes, there's going to be all the links to be a part of KC's community, her LinkedIn, her Facebook, her Instagram, all those fun things, and get your free gift by just simply looking in the show notes down below. I want to thank you very much for listening, KC. I want to thank you very much again for being here. It was an absolute pleasure to chat with you and hear your story. And to my audience, as I always say, remember to invest in yourself.
Thanks for joining us on Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur Podcast. The Podcast Mogul reminds you that your journey to freedom and success starts with one powerful move: investing in yourself. If today's episode sparked your fire, hit that follow button on Spotify and drop us a comment. Share your wins, your challenges, and what drives you to break free from the corporate grind. Remember, you're your best investment. Always invest in yourself, because your potential is limitless. Until next time, keep hustling and take control of your destiny.